Welcome back. I'm Michael Bull, and this is the Commercial Real Estate Show. Today we're talking about the self-storage industry. Please welcome my next guest, Mike Scanlon. He serves as president and chief executive officer of the Self-Storage Association. They represent the 20-plus billion in revenue self-storage industry that has grown to some 48,000 primary facilities across the nation in the last 40 years. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be with you, Michael.
Well, we appreciate it. And since you're kind of a leader in this industry, if you will, kind of give us a bit of a scope of the industry, the size and the scale of this self-storage industry. It's grown quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, so the industry started off in the late 60s and early 70s. And believe it or not, it started off in the Southwest and moved its way east across the country. But Southern California, the Phoenix, Arizona area, and Texas, a lot of people were retiring to those areas and needed a place to store, excess furniture and possessions. And so that's kind of how the self-storage industry got going back in the late 60s and early 70s. And today we've grown to the point where now 1 in 11 American households, residential households, now rents a self-storage unit. And it's become even a worldwide phenomenon now in that there are about 56,000 self-storage facilities all around the world. And we have relationships now with China, Japan, South Africa, Australia. It's amazing, and in Latin America and South America are really starting to pick up as hot markets right now.
Yeah, it's an incredible industry. And are there still just 5 public companies in the self-storage sector?
Yeah, there are 5 publicly traded companies in the sector, and they are doing very well these days if you watch them on the stock tickers.
And how big is the industry? How is it segmented based on the public companies and maybe the companies that own multiple properties? And then there's also a lot of individuals who own one property, right?
That is true. Yes, the 5 public companies together have around 5,400 stores, and that represents about 11, maybe 12% of the entire industry in the United States, of 48,500 stores, as you said. But there are out there many chains now of anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20 or 30 stores that are owned by independent owner-operators that are now starting to grow as the economy comes back a little bit. And on the baseline of our industry are some almost 30,000 individual store facility owner-operators.
Right, and sometimes people have called this sector the Cinderella sector. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I was the first one to use that,
okay.
to be honest with you. No, it was after during the recession that started in 2008. A lot of the real estate portfolios that involved apartments and office and malls and that sort of thing were all headed south very quickly, and the self-storage industry kind of hung in there financially. Our customer base hung in there and stayed in their facilities and units, and we found we had a little bit of a sag there, but we did very well during the recession in comparison to the other elements of the commercial real estate industry. And so now a lot of portfolios are looking at self-storage to acquire and have in their portfolios so that it's kind of a hedge in case another recession were to come along. So we may not be as fancy and as sexy as a tall office building or a brand new mall, but self-storage is a very reliable segment and has kind of been overrated in the past. And so that's where I came up with coined the phrase of the Cinderella of the commercial real estate industry.
That's great, and yeah, we've all seen those rural properties, but we've also seen some beautiful urban properties that are just gorgeous. And let's talk about your association a little bit. So, if someone's interested in the self-storage industry into buying, or they own some properties, what are some of the benefits the association provides?
Well, the key benefit, I think, is probably education and networking. Those are the things that most of the people come to our meetings, is they want to learn about how to operate efficiently, effectively, and also inside the law. We're governed by the lien laws in the 50 states, and so you really, in each state's a little different, so you have to understand the contractual arrangements and how to work within the system of the lien laws, which require so much notice, and that in case you have to have an auction sale for somebody who doesn't pay their bill.
Yeah, that's a good point. And well, we're going to have to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to talk with Mike again, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the demographics of these customers, and where the great sites and where the great locations are, and maybe talk a little bit about new construction, some other management tips if you're in this business or you're thinking about getting in the business. And remember, if you're watching the show or listening to the show, rather, one of the 40 radio stations, you can catch videos of this show and some others at CREshow.com. It's on YouTube. You can also listen to the shows on demand on iTunes. And lastly, don't forget, if you appreciate the show, to like us on Facebook and talk about us on LinkedIn and Twitter. So stay tuned. More on the self-storage industry. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. We'll be right back.
The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you in part by Florida International University. With FIU's Fast Track system, you can earn your master's in real estate in just 10 months without interrupting your career. Visit FIUonline.com to learn more. That's FIUonline.com.
Welcome back. I'm Michael Bull, and this is the Commercial Real Estate Show. Today we're talking about the self-storage industry. My guest is Mike Scanlon. He is president and CEO of the Self-Storage Association. And Mike, just who are the customers of self-storage? What are the demographics? What do they look like?
Well, we cut across virtually every section of America in terms of, say, annual salary and that sort of thing. For example, 47% of our customer base, or roughly half, makes $50,000 or less a year, and about two-thirds of our customer base makes $75,000 or less. So, but we also have people from every strata of the income scale that you can imagine uses self-storage. We have retired people, make up about 20% of our customer base. About 2% are military people who are on deployment.
That was 2%?
And 6% are college students that use self-storage during the summer, for example.
So 6% college, and you said military 2%?
Yes, about 2% right now.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, let's talk about the characteristics of a good site or a good property. What are some things that make them work well?
Well, it's always, as in most real estate, it's location, location, location. So the key element here is finding a market where there's enough population to support an additional facility. Many of the feasibility people will always say, oh, sure, self-storage is a winner. We can build one of those anywhere. That's not true anymore. It may have been at one time you could knock down the next cornfield and put up self-storage, but those days are over. You've really got to do your studies on demographics to make sure that a new facility, depending on the size of it, coming into a particular market, isn't going to kill off that entire market. And that can happen and has happened in the past. So location is a key element. Making sure that you've got the access is very important, especially from freeways, because most people select or find their self-storage facility because they drove by it and they noticed it and they made a mental note, there's one there in case I ever need it. So visibility, either through signage or the facility itself, is another key element, especially in dealing with interstate highways and well-trafficked roads.
Okay. And what are some of the future developments in an area that might increase the demand for self-storage? Is it students? Is it military? What types of development might help create more demand?
Well, the demand is already there. The question is finding a location where you can put such a facility in via the zoning of the particular piece of property you're looking at. What a lot of people are doing now, right this minute in the industry, is not so much new construction. It's actually cheaper to buy a facility and to fix it up and make it have more curb appeal than it is to go out and invest in a whole new facility in a market where you're maybe not sure of whether there's enough a demand for the new facility coming in ground up.
Yeah, that's true. You've got some history there, right? And what about some management tips, Mike? You guys are involved heavily in the industry. So if I own a facility, maybe I want to buy a value-add center and improve the way it's operated, or maybe I've got a current property that I'd like to perform better. What are some tips for me?
Well, I think the key thing is making your facility and your service that you provide your customer as convenient as possible. Most people don't realize it, but the people who come to self-storage facilities, they have 64% of them have a garage at home, and yet they find it more convenient to come to a facility to store their stuff. 47% of them have an attic, and 33% of them have a basement. So you ask yourself, well, if they have a basement and an attic and a garage, why are they driving 20 minutes to put their stuff in a self-storage facility? Well, one, they consider it to be clean and safe, and it's easy access in and out, depending on 24 hours a day. In many cases, you can come through the gate with a security pass. So the idea is if you can make your facility and the services that you offer as convenient as possible, and more convenient than the guy down the road, I think that's the key element that makes a difference for people, is they notice that convenience when they walk in the door, how they're treated, and maybe you hand them a bottle of water and welcome them to the facility, show them around, make sure it's always clean. Those are the kind of things that people look for: security and cleanliness.
That's great advice. And speaking of security, I drove by a center yesterday, and I drove by it going somewhere, and I noticed the gate was open and no one's using it. Then I came by 2 hours later, the gate was still open, and I thought, wow, I wouldn't want my stuff, my junk in there, or my valuable stuff.
We don't refer to it as junk or stuff. We refer to it as possessions.
Possessions. I like it. Yeah, so security is important. What about an online presence? Is that becoming more important?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and call centers, 24-hour call centers, so that if somebody calls your facility and it's actually closed, and then it gets kicked over to a call center who can actually rent a space to you and give you a code to go through the gate, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's a combination of the Internet and being able to rent right on and look at the prices right there in front of you so that you know what a 10 by 10 unit might rent for. Also the ability to lock it in over the Internet, and also a call center when the store is actually closed.
That's great. My stuff is junk. Now, your stuff and your listener stuff, it's possessions, right? My stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's possessions.
My stuff is junk.
And you know what they're storing? It's mostly furniture,
yeah,
pictures, kitchenware, clothing, seasonal items, and various supplies. Those are the top categories of what people store.
That's great. Well, Mike, thanks for joining us today. We sure appreciate your insight and joining us.
Okay, Michael. Good to be with you.
Well, thank you, Mike. If you'd like more information from them, visit selfstorage.org. There's some great information about the self-storage industry, and if you own properties, you want to buy these type of properties, you want to get involved in this association. Well, stay tuned. We'll have more on the self-storage business. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty Commercial Advisors, a great place to do business. Visit bullrealty.com. RealNex, a comprehensive and powerful suite of commercial real estate tools at an incredibly low price. Visit realnex.com. That's RealNex. FIU, Florida International University. Earn your master's in real estate in as little as 10 months without interrupting your career. Visit FIUonline.com. Xceligent, the resource professionals use for commercial real estate information. Visit Xceligent.com. That's XCELIGENT. Commercial Search, the source to market and source available properties for sale or lease. Visit commercialsearch.com. For more information on these great companies, or for additional videos, podcasts, or articles, visit CREshow.com.